So hello and welcome to this video on the Ritual Electronics Miasma, a distortion and feedback loop that we can change components of, but let's check out what's to come in the video before we get into the features. So Miasma is a distortion, and a rather full-on distortion as well. We have a gain control and a attenuverter for a gain CV input. Envelope followers and sequences into this are great because it's very dynamic. We have our input and output, feedback CV, again with a attenuverter that detents in the middle, which is nice to just cut that off. Big feedback knob. They want you to play with feedback, obviously. And a blend control, so we can do parallel distortions. Now, at lower gains, we can get some kind of channel strip-like tones where it's just a bit crisper, slightly softly clipped and compressed, a bit bigger generally. But it really does excel at being quite full-on. We can swap out rectification diodes, LEDs, and other components that come. I'll put a picture on screen, and we'll check out how they respond differently as well. Module's really full on, but it's really simple. Lots of potential uses, so let's get into some patches. So here we've got an acid line going in, very 303 like, and you can hear it's totally destroying it. Sounds great. Let's back it off, let you hear the clean sound, and take my modulation out as well. So here's the clean, much tamer, much quieter 303 sound. Let's take the blend fully wet. We can hear we've got a bit of a volume boost already. Let's just slowly bring up the gain. And you can hear that nice croaky clipping. This kind of low gain stuff works great when you blend it, so it's like a parallel mix, roughly 50-50. And you can just bring in a little bit of that kind of clipped character. It just helps push it forward in a mix. But blend up full. Let's get the gain up higher. Low gain, let's try the feedback. Not an ideal just feedback tone when the gain's low, but when we crank this up, God, it's ace. Really thick. So I'm modulating feedback with a little sequence. And I'm modulating gain with another sequence. Really dynamic, really intense, that's just perfectly suited to this. I'm going to start to sidechain this VCA against the kick and bring some drums in just so we can hear this in context. God, it just sounds ace. I've got a track coming with this patch because I really just love the sound of it, and a track just happened. So in the last part of the video, you heard me bring some drums in against the acid line. Here are those drums coming straight into the Miasma, and let's bring up the blend, let's play around with some softer clipping, but the bonkers stuff's where it's going to shine, and those into intense processing, just distortion in general, abstract noise, smashing drums. It's going to sound great. So let's bring the blend up, gain all the way down, feedback all the way down. And it's just like kind of pushing it through some kind of studio chain. Nice preamp, nice compressor, a little bit of clipping at each stage. You've just boosted up and brought the body of the whole thing together. Yes, it's louder, so subjectively it's hard to hear exactly what's going on, but certainly listen to the kick. The tail's that bit squashed. The reverb, little kind of noise trail after the clap's a bit louder. You could do a nice little parallel blend and just get more weight into your drums. And this works for other sounds as well. But let's add some gain and see where this takes us. So even just with a little bit, just really big, thick, fuzzy background. And feedback's really going to scream because this is dynamic. So we gain a lot of space in between that low end in the kick, and the feedback's really going to kick in between the beats. So from nice kind of studio chain to all out bonkers, it's all there. So let's quickly blast through some other sound sources. Just off screen I have a Korg Volca Sample, just it's playing some little patterns of both synth stuff and percussion. And let's just check it out. I'll change the patterns and we'll play around with the Miasma. So again, a bit like with the drums, gain down but blend up. It's like just kind of pushing through a kind of analog channel strip, if you like. Fatter, more present. Until it just starts snatching at the kick. So there's a few more sounds. Let's check this out, just taking an oscillator wave straight in. So on the top yellow trace of data, you can see we've got a triangle wave. It's coming out of an analog oscillator, very simple. The bottom trace is the Miasma. Now, with the blend down, we do get quite a low output, and you can hear there's a slight fizz on top of the triangle. And as I bring that up, the level comes up, fizz is a bit brighter or more present. And you can see this asymmetrical clipping where it's actually clipping the negative portion of this wave. Now you would expect the gain coming up to just clip even further, but it completely reshapes the wave. So fully up on the blend, fully wet. Let's slowly bring the gain up. So we've already got like half wave rectification going on. The kind of wave folder-ish. Tones. If we bring some feedback in, I'm just going to put the blend down to do this. We can see this kind of pulse overtone. Those pulses getting thicker as the pitch of that feedback comes down. And that feedback's really interfered with by the gain. So at this point, it's good to point out that, and I'll put some pictures on screen, we can change the behavior of this module by swapping out components. This has been its kind of default state all the way through. Now let's check out a couple of the different components and patterns and see how this sounds, and I'll edit this in so you can hear a sweep of gain and feedback like this, show you the next component and flick through that way. So here's a sweep again like this. So for anyone that gets the module, I encourage you to play around with these components. You can see some of them kind of flip and invert the wave, then clip it. Some of them sound like wave folding, some of them half wave rectify. It might have sounded very similar to you in this actual demo with just a triangle wave, but if you run drums through, dynamic content, different pitches, more varied content, they all respond very differently, whether they're red LEDs, blue LEDs, little diodes. I'm not quite sure, to be honest, what these components are, but it's easy just to pull them in and out of the side of the module and try it out. And you can kind of find the one that suits what you want to do. It's nice to have these different flavors, almost like a different module, and you can swap between them freely. So here we'll explore the feedback loop, because we get a feedback out and a feedback in, as I said at the start of the video. So here's a wavetable through a low pass gate. I'm just going to open the low pass gate up. The blend is all the way down. And it's just crossfading between a couple of waves. My low pass gate has been struck. Again, which you can hear. Blend is all the way down. Let's see what the gain sounds like. Suitably gnarly. And again, you can use a low gain for just kind of adding life to this. But with this in the feedback path, the Erbe Verb, let's turn the feedback up. Let's get some gain. I'm just going to close off and dampen my low pass gate. Interesting sounds to be had. Let's swap out the Erbe Verb for a filter in the feedback path. So similar settings, very low feedback, gain around a quarter. Blend up full. I'm going to open up the cutoff on a low pass filter. It's coming out to the filter and back in. Feedback out, filter, filters out to feedback in. Ton of potential. That's just two ways of using this feedback path. So to finish on, we're going to look at two things. First, whether this is post filter and VCA, so it's at the end of a chain in a synth voice, or whether it's before the filter and the VCA. So we'll go oscillator, distortion, then filtering and amplitude control. We're also going to look at sequencing. So this is after my synth voice, end of the chain. And let's swap over from the dry sound in my mixer to Miasma. It's so characterful. It's a really nice kind of squashy croak to it. If squashy croak is even a thing. Feedback a bit bonkers as always. it kind of pumps up and compresses and squashes everything because there's nothing after this to then control the tone or the amplitude. Now, while we're at the end of the chain, let's try sequencing, and this is a velocity sequence from my sequencer, the gain CV. Drop the blend back a bit. So more dynamic, some notes are more distorted than others. We can invert that CV. So although it's a very characterful and quite full-on distortion and feedback device, it can be controlled. I really like that inverted version. Cancel that out for a second. Let's use an accent pattern to fire in some feedback. Let's try that while CV in the gain. So it works great in a sequence. As I said, much more dynamic. So now we're going saw wave straight from my oscillator into Miasma. As you can see, the input signal never dips like it did before. Out of this, that's the blue trace, just if you want to see it. And that's then going into my filtering and amplitude control. So that feedback's now been chopped in and out. Let's try modulation again. Same sequence to gain CV. Again, let's try invert it. And accent to feedback. So it's a very different response. So we've seen this on acid lines, on drums, swapping out the components with an Erbe verb or a filter in the feedback path, and with it pre or post VCA, VCF type control in a synth voice. There's a ton of potential with this thing for feedback loops, processing delays, just warming things up with that kind of channel strip like character it's got, low gain, and obviously just crushing things to death as well. Thanks for watching, hit like, subscribe, go support me on Patreon if you want to support my content, both public and the exclusives that you get over there, and cheers for watching.